Welcome to Self. I know, isn't that music
You're
awesome?
smooth.
I'm glad you were bopping to it, Rachel. Welcome to Self Publishing Insiders with Drafted Digital. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre. I'm the director of what am I? The director of business development at Drafted Digital, and I have with me international sensation author Rachel Rener. Rachel, welcome.
Man, Mark, you can introduce me anywhere and everywhere I go.
Well, international because we were just hanging out in Toronto, and now you're in the States. So, and I'm pretty sure you've sold in like 30, 60, 80 countries around the world by now.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I most excited to see someone bought my book in Antarctica. So that was
Oh, that
cool.
is so cool. That is so
Right?
cool. So we're going to be talking about that because you do a lot of direct selling on your website. You're obviously selling through retailers as well, but you just launched just closed hours ago, maybe 12 hours ago, something like that. A Kickstarter. Can you tell us a little bit about this Kickstarter that you just ran?
Yeah, it was wild. A year and a half ago we ran a Kickstarter for this pink monstrosity, which can also
Okay.
double as a bludgeoning weapon. It's,
Oh my
4 books
God,
of
that's a spider killer. Oh, and it
right?
comes in a little box too.
I know it's true. Yeah, it's 4 books of the Gilded Blood series. The Gilded Blood series at that time had been out for like around a year or so. And so at the time, we had set a publishing goal of 15, like 5,000. And it ultimately funded at 50,000. And then it just kind of kept steamrolling from there. So when we came out with the prequel, earlier this year, we knew we had to make a special edition for that too, but we couldn't make it pink because it's very dark. It's
Yeah.
dark and it's told from the male point of view, so pink
Right,
wouldn't work.
right.
So then we had to make the pink book temporarily black,
Oh my God.
and I figured it would do well, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
not even speaking from a place of boasting, just looking at the numbers. We had a lot of followers. Gilded Blood has grown since I did the pink one. We put a lot of effort and work into it, but gosh, it just blew my expectations out of the water. I'm so surprised. I'm so grateful, and I'm still kind of dealing with the aftermath of like, oh my gosh, that just happened.
So, could you hold up that first pink book again? Because there was a comment that I just want to pop up from Nigel as well. You ready? You'll hold it up as close to the camera as you can. And the comment is, whoops, of course, the way comments work here, that isn't a book, that's freight. That is freight. How heavy is that book?
This is 4.1 pounds.
Oh, wow. I thought it would be heavier than that. That is absolutely amazing. So we're going to pop up. Tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter as well. So I'm going to pop up some of the assets related to the Kickstarter you just ran. If you can just kind of say, okay, so you had this black version of the book, but then what were people going to get and how did
Yeah,
you run it?
so we had multiple tiers, right? When you do a Kickstarter, it's kind of important that you reach people who are like vaguely interested or maybe very interested but don't have the funds right now. So you usually have like a smaller tier. In our case, we did an art pack. Where we had like some really beautiful foiled bookmarks, a foiled postcards, and then we had like some temporary tattoos because tattoo runes and blood types make up the magic system. So
Of
we had
course.
that. And then, the second tier is just getting the prequel book, which a lot
Right,
of
right.
people opted for because they already had the pink book and,
Yeah, yeah,
pink and black look lovely together.
they
And then
do.
we had, a third tier, which was both books plus this really beautiful
Oh
slipcase.
my goodness. Wow. That I could get into that box. It's so big.
Right, right. Well, it has to hold both of these chunksters, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then we had a fourth tier that had the art pack and the book bundle, and then we had a fifth tier, which I wasn't sure if it would sell. I mean, it was quite expensive. It was like $300. It was that plus a whole bunch of exclusive goodies you could only get as part of that ultimate
Right.
tier. So that's how we did it with those 5 tiers. And then
Wow.
as we went on and we started unlocking things, we offered, like additional goodies and bonus add-ons and such.
Wow. And I just I mean you were holding, I think in the video from your Kickstarter, as you're holding the book, you can see this what do you call that style? The was it the rainbow
It's
sort of?
it's holographic foil sprayed edge or holographic
Yeah.
foil edges.
Wow, absolutely gorgeous. I
Thank you.
ordered one, and I was so excited because you pretty much shipping it anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, we do. And I always tell authors who are about to launch on Kickstarter that we as human beings, it hurts us to set shipping rates is very expensive. So the mistake
Yeah.
I made in my very first Kickstarter, 3 Kickstarters ago, was not charging enough for shipping. I thought,
Right.
no one is going to want to buy this if I charge what it actually costs, and so I charged too little, and boy, did that bite me in the butt when it came time to actually ship those books. So we spent a lot
Wow.
of time plugging in the numbers to USPS, plugging in the numbers to UPS, using our pirate ship account. In Canada, I think you would use a stallion ship, right?
Right, right.
Really making sure that we had that shipping down pat and charging people exactly what it would cost. And people understand when they go on Kickstarter, they understand, especially when you're mailing 6 pounds of books. It's
Yeah.
it's not going to be cheap to go to Australia, and people have been so understanding and so supportive of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this Kickstarter, now I saw that you had this super magnificent stretch goal. You had so many stretch goals. You cleared the stretch goal of 225,000. What did you end up landing at as it finished?
230 US dollars, which I
Wow.
guess is over 300,000 Canadian. So I'm going to go with that
Yes.
number because it
I
sounds
like that. Yeah, in Canada,
so much
it's
more
way nicer.
impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Beth is asking if you have a bloody lip. Should I tell her
Yeah, yeah,
about the other
okay.
guy and how
Yeah.
bad he looks? He's in the
You
hospital
should
right
see
now.
him. Yeah, you should see how he looks. No, Beth, you know what? I should never have the shower about half an hour before the call because I was shaving and I just cut my lip open in two places, just below my lip, and so I just normally it stops bleeding, but that's live streaming for you. So thanks, Beth.
The perils of being a man. I do think that you should stick with, boy, you should see the other guy.
Oh yeah, and Nigel says he just got whacked by one of those books
I
as
mean,
well. So,
Nigel, you don't know, but I've got such a temper. It transfers through
yeah.
time, space, and computer screens.
Well, we were on a panel at Toronto Indie Author Con this past weekend, and I
Oh,
did say something out of turn, and you just backhanded me and said, "Enough of that," right?
hey, I thought we weren't going to tell them about that.
So let's talk a little about. So that you said this 2 or 3 Kickstarters ago, and you'd made some errors. So you didn't. I mean, you didn't start off making $230,000 in the Kickstarter. How did you work your way through that, and the learnings along the way?
Yeah, so it was several years ago. Um I wanted to just kind of like learn the ropes. So I sort of did what you're not supposed to do, but knowing it, right? I didn't tell people about it beforehand. I didn't have a team to help me. It was just me. I was back, I wouldn't say a baby author, but I was still really trying to
Yeah.
find my footing, and um wasn't really making a lot of money. So we'll say I was an aspiring successful author. And so,
Okay.
like, it was the day of, I remember it was my birthday. It was October 13th. And I said, Happy birthday. Here's a special edition. And so, like I said, I didn't do as much research on the shipping as I should have. I didn't have a pre launch page to gain a lot of followers. I just sort of said, Surprise, it's live. And, we made a few $1,000s. And back then I was using Ingram Spark as my printer. And nothing against Ingram Spark. They're super convenient to use. I certainly recommend them to authors who are starting out in the special edition or hardcover sphere.
Yeah.
It's quite expensive. I didn't charge enough because the book was like this big. It was colorized on the inside, which for Spark at the time was really expensive. And I think I broke even when all was said and done. And that's not the point of a Kickstarter, right? You definitely want to
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
little bit of a margin to work with. And then I was telling you the second time I really wanted to do it right. So I did a lot of advertising and spreading the word beforehand. I had that pre-launch page up for about a month, I want to say.
Yeah.
We had gotten around 450 followers, which is great. I usually tell authors, like, if you can get around 250 or 300 followers before your project launches, you'll
Yeah.
probably hit your $10,000 to $15,000 funding goal. If you're looking to get one of those 500 print minimum runs.
Right. Right.
So we did great. It was awesome. The surprising thing about that one is, so at the time I didn't have a proof, right? It was all concept art. We'd had the cover
Okay.
designed, my artist plugged it into like a 3D mock-up. And so we were just showing people graphics.
Right.
And so, it did well. Like I said, we funded all the way at 50,000, but it was when we got the proof in the mail. And I started showing people, the holographic foil, and it's
Yeah.
got a colorized map on the inside, and that's when it went nuts. And so
Wow.
we had already made our order. We I think we're gonna get like 750 books. But then it went like baby viral. And I don't mean viral like a million people saw it. I mean like a few 100,000 people saw it. And then next thing I knew, we had like 800 orders in. My PayPal account was being frozen because we had unexpected exponential growth. It was kind of a nightmare, actually, because we didn't expect it. So I think we ended up getting over $200,000 after that, before the books had even arrived to port. So we were really scrambling.
Wow. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So many questions. So I just want to dig into this first. Now you're talking about we.
I see so many questions in the
I
chat.
know
Now.
I've
Answer
got them
all of
queued
them.
up.
Yeah.
I've got some queued up that I'm going to be asking, but I get to ask them first.
You do.
I'm the one who cut myself just before this. I got to treat myself.
You've sacrificed enough for this interview. You get to ask.
You are an independent author, an independent
Yes.
spirit, going your own way, doing your own thing, breaking barriers, doing all kinds of things. But you keep saying we, so you must have a team then, right?
I do. It's this habit I have. I do have a team, but honestly, I guess when I'm talking about Kickstarter, I mean, that was a lot of me going into that. I do tell people,
Right.
when you're doing the Kickstarter, don't expect to get any books written during that time. So at the time when I was doing the big pink book, as it's called, it really was just me. I had a project manager, but that didn't go very well, and he didn't really do much. So it was just me. Now I do have a team of, there's 5 of us. And it's been so wonderful having them for support. If anything, they just keep me sane when I'm like,
Yeah.
But I am very fortunate enough that now I do have a team of people who help support me when I'm losing my mind. It's been great.
That is fantastic. Now, I have to go back in the conversation when you talked about I was an aspiring successful author. So a few people, including Nigel, said, must remember that. It's a great one. And I like to say that to authors. I actually, at this last weekend, when I did my panel on or my talk on author branding, I said, you're not a wannabe writer. You're not a beginning writer. You're not a newbie writer. You are a future best-selling author, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So
what other advice would you give in that vein to authors who are beginning? They're going, oh wow, look at this! Like, you've got the team, you've got the sales, you've got the Kickstarters. What would you say to somebody that maybe the younger Rachel who's just getting started?
Yeah, you know in your heart when it's time to start growing, and I would tell people, it's sort of it's a Goldilocks thing, right? You can't start hiring people too quickly. It might feel good to say like, oh, I've got this team behind me, but you need that money. You need to kind of set up a nest egg. You need to, at that point, you just need to be picking and choosing.
Right.
What can I pick up right now without stretching myself too thin? And Mark, you and I talked about this so much at the Toronto Indie Author Conference, which is, your first and foremost goal needs to be writing books. And I think a lot of newer authors get maybe frustrated hearing that. Like, well, yeah, I know you keep saying that, but how else am I going to sell them? Well, the best way to sell your books is to write more books, right? We talked about, we really drove that in. But on the flip side, when it is time to hire your team, don't drag your feet. I dragged my feet for a little too long, and the growth curve, I think I always kind of expected it to like sort of do this, What I didn't realize is that it kind of does like this.
Right.
And once you're like here,
Yeah.
Once you're just at the curve of that hockey stick, that's when that's when you need to say, all right, it's going to be a little scary, but I need to start spending some money to get ready for this growth. Because once you do that, I mean, unless something goes horribly wrong and you use like a racial slur, it's going to continue this way because
Right. Yeah.
success and momentum begets more success and momentum. I waited
Right.
a little too long and worked quite a number of 16-hour days before I finally figured it out. Like, I need help.
Wow, amazing. And I love the fact that you used hockey stick, not just because you were in Toronto,
I
while the
knew you'd
Maple
like
Leafs were
that.
playing in the playoffs. But okay, and use a Canadian term, hockey stick. But that is a good curve to be on. But that came from a lot of hard work and a lot of patience. Like I say, patience, practice, and persistence. Right.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I had written 5 books before the first book of the Gilded Blood series.
Right.
And I really actually was ready to throw in the towel. It had been
Right.
about 3 years. The first 2 years, I was negative income. I was so
Right.
lucky to be married to somebody who was very supportive, like not just in terms of, finances and being willing to shoulder that burden, but just emotionally supportive and saying, keep going. And he comes from business, right? So he was able to be very logical and say, look, most businesses need 3 to 5 years to start
Right.
thriving. So he was able to speak to me and say, stop looking at it as a creative, stop looking at it as a storyteller, look at it as a business. You are creating a business right now. You need more time. And
Yeah.
thank God he pushed me because it actually was inked
Yeah.
that started really propelling things. The ebook, I had changed
Yeah.
my distribution method and that really worked. And then the special edition is what brought my career to a new level. So I
Wow.
was like right there on the cusp of saying, I'm not meant to do this.
Yeah.
And now, I'm going to conventions with you as a so-called expert, and we're talking to people about how to get to where we are. It's kind of surreal, right? I'm
It
so
really,
glad I
really
kept
is.
going.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
mentioned because I've seen some comments from people who just published a book this week, and I know it's congratulations, it's awesome, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Love the fact that you can do that, but it's not that you publish your book and suddenly you're an
No.
international sensation. It can happen, but it's
Every once in
most
a
likely.
while.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
every once in a while you see
yeah,
it,
for
but
you, it was 5 years. For me, if I actually counted, it was probably about 15 years before I started earning enough money that I
absolutely.
didn't need to have a full-time job. So,
Yeah.
and some people, it can take a lot longer. So that patience is important. All right, getting back to some questions based on
Yeah.
earlier content is Alyssa, who is a designer at Drafted Digital, makes all the things look the awesomeness
Oh,
that
wonderful.
they
Hi,
are.
Alyssa. Who do I use for
Alyssa
printing?
said, so okay, so you'd mentioned Ingram Spark you'd use, but so who do you use now for printing? Because they obviously don't do all that fancy stuff that you had.
No, no, no. And again, we talked about this at the Toronto Indie Author Conference, which is like the pros and cons of using print on demand. Print on demand would be Book Vault, 48-hour books, Ingram Spark versus like a mass traditional printer.
Right,
So
right,
I now use a mass printer. They're R.R. Donnelley. They're internationally renowned. They're wonderful. A couple
right,
caveats there. You have to have at least a 500 book minimum. So that's where
right.
crowdfunding comes in. In order to get those 500 books, you usually need around $15,000, more or less.
Yeah,
So when you make the funding, great, right? The other
right,
caveat is that even though they are based here in the States, and I think they may also be in Canada, I'm not sure, they print in China. Even so-called domestic printers, they all print overseas. Now, the good news is that tariffs for now, let's all please take a moment, like literally, I need you to knock on wood for me. For now, we are locked in here in the States at a 7. Thank you, Mark. 7.5% tariff. That could
yeah,
change. And I completely understand why some people would not want to take that risk right now
yeah.
in the kind of world that we're living in. But they, for me, have been wonderful. I have a dedicated account manager, and I love what we've created with them.
Oh, fantastic! Well, thank you for that. And R.R. Donnelley is one of those printers that big publishers use. I recognize the
Right?
name from being in the
Yeah,
industry for a long
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's not like print on demand one-offs. You have
No.
to dedicate. Like,
It's true,
and again, what I recommend is, that's the beauty of print on demand and the world we live in, is
thanks to you.
we all believe our books are going to sell billions of copies, but that's how you can get stuck with 500 copies in your basement, right?
Oh
Taking
yeah, no, it took me about 4 years, I would say, to make
yeah,
the leap. I'm in a place now where I will never go back to print on demand, but I had to get there, right? And
yeah,
the worst
yeah,
thing you could possibly do is have these big, like, eyes that are bigger than your wallet, let's say,
yeah,
and you get your 500 or 750 or 1,000 books, and that's quite a lot of money. It's also quite a lot of pallets. A book this size,
yeah,
you can get 250 of them on a pallet at most.
yeah,
If you order 1,000 of them, that's 4 pallets. Where are you going to put that? Where are you going to move that? Those pallets are easily 1,000 pounds. So
yeah,
not only that, but if you order 500, 750, 1,000 books or more, what are you going to do if you don't sell them all?
yeah,
So that's why, I think a really good way to make the leap between print on demand and mass printing is to do crowdfunding, or at the very least host a pre-order on your site, to make sure that you have the demand before you invest in that supply, because they will
right.
not take those books back. That's up to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, my wife was, she's handy around the house, so she builds things, and she put together a room for me that's just my storage room, shelving on the wall, the scale so I can weigh things before I go ship them with the online labels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, because it had happened and this was for a Kickstarter, but when I had to have 150 hardcovers shipped to the house.
Where did they
And we were
go?
working. We were working in the garage when they showed up, and the UPS guy comes and he just keeps and Liz is like,
Yes.
where are we going to put all these? I'm like, well, most of them are going.
Not to mention boxes. People do not think
Yeah,
about this. So, just really, really
yeah,
quick anecdotal story. I mentioned I had a project manager that turned into a nightmare. So,
right,
somewhere in between making 50,000, getting an additional 200 or 225,000, whatever it was,
yeah,
I had to fire him. Like, I
yeah,
had to. There
yeah,
was no other way. And I had books en route from China, pallets and pallets of them, right? I don't
right,
remember
yeah,
exactly how many books we got. I want to say it was 1,500. It might have been 2,000 total, but
okay,
that's 5, 6 pallets. So
yeah,
I had to scramble to find the space to put them, to find storage space. But then I had to go to Uline and start prepping for all of the boxes that we would ship. Boxes too, you get 250 of them, they start coming on pallets. They
yeah,
take up a lot of room even when they're flat. I mean, they just come in
right,
these, like,
yeah,
giant columns. It's You have to be very space conscientious when you move into
yeah,
mass printing. I have a warehouse now. I mean, like, I have a literal warehouse with,
yeah,
like, storage racks and forklifts. Um, yeah, I think I said when you and I were on I don't remember if you were in there, or if I was doing it by myself, but I said, I absolutely hate authors. I hate them. I hate all of you who do millions of ebook sales. I hate you so much. You are so much smarter than me, because you make so much money doing, of course, nothing. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You had
yeah.
to write the
No, but
books.
the digital stuff moves, but you don't have to get finger
Yes,
cuts and
I am
put
over here with forklifts and pallet jacks and teams and warehouses, and like, you're so much smarter than me. Do ebooks. Don't do what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think I saw a comment from somebody, and this is from N Long. Book said, took me 8 years to sell 1,000 units on Amazon
So
as well.
normal.
So yeah, and look
So
at that
normal.
beautiful 3D image there. So
Yeah.
okay, so there's a question from Beth that I think is related to that, because before you can get to the place where you have warehouses and pallets and the team and stuff like that, Beth asks, Rachel, what's something that you use to invite readers to become fans? Because it's a lot of those super fans and those fans that were the people who jumped on and followed the Kickstarter and said, "Oh my God, I have to have the new box, all the things." Right?
Yeah, this is so subjective, and what worked for me will absolutely not work for some other authors. But for
Right.
me personally, um, I just had to rely on my sparkling wit and personality, because there was a point when I started, I never wanted to be famous. I'm not famous. I'm not saying I am, but I'm saying when I went in, I wanted to put the full spotlight on my books. My
Right.
Facebook page was the Lightning Conjurer series, right? I
Right.
was just the faceless person in the back. I went nowhere. And again, it was my husband. God, I really need to like make him a nice dinner or something after this interview. My husband said, Rachel, you're smart, you're funny, he's biased. Go put your
He
face
kind of
out.
likes you a little, right? Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Go put your face out there. And when I came out from behind the shadows and I started just being me and interacting with my fans and being Rachel Rener versus just my books. That's what worked really well for me. I have gone viral a couple of times on being my snarky, inappropriate self, climbing into filing cabinets when a reviewer said it was impossible for a full-grown woman to fit in one. Of course I did. I broke it, but I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A reader asked me for a refund on their $3.99 Amazon book, so I sent it to them in pennies, filmed it. They were really mean, to be fair.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah. So I have gotten a bit. My readers have turned into fans through my sheer idiocy and just liking me as a person. My reader group, I make myself available to my readers. That does not work
Right.
for everybody,
Right.
but it worked for me.
And it sounds like that authenticity. You were not putting
Yes.
on airs. You were more naturally being yourself. Fortunately, you're
Yeah.
not a jerk. So that helps.
No, and I think you said it so much clearer than me. I am, depending on who you talk to, funny and snarky and in some ways personable. For other authors, though, it's just being authentic, I think, and just being true to yourself, to your readers, to your books. People really resonate with that,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so this is for the fans. This question from Jay Kumas. Will we get a new Amethysts and Alchemy this year? A sequel or a new standalone? Any hints for the fans?
I really, really, really want to. Now that Gilded Blood and Silver Blood will theoretically take up less of my time. They're my spoiled brat baby. They're like the youngest child and they're just taking up all my attention. I do hope to be working on that. Yeah, absolutely, Jessica.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks for
Awesome.
asking.
This is just a comment related to something we mentioned earlier. I didn't want to miss it, but Layla had mentioned that the more books I put out, the better all of the books did. But definitely they'd all come together after one book right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely did it. Yeah.
You've got multiple books now where if you find a super fan, they don't just have one or two books to buy. They go buy all however many books you've written. Your writing gets better, your craft gets better, your marketing gets better. Like the more books you write, the stronger everything becomes. You're putting more bricks in the foundation of the house that you're trying to build.
Yeah. Now this is a question from Beth I want to mention. So we were just talking about the warehouses, and Beth says, I don't want to do the shipping myself. Are there options of doing big projects like Kickstarter without having to store and ship them? And that's something that's very easy for all of us to do, right?
Yeah, of course. There are, and again, I just really encourage you to do your research. There are people out there who will help you run your projects. Influence, actually, they're wonderful. The owner, Dana, she's absolutely remarkable. She will help you get special edition books, things like that. As far as like the storing and shipping, there are people out there who will help you do it. Just make sure you're doing your research. Don't just take their word for it. Go talk to other authors that they've worked with. In my case, more and more authors were speaking about some of the issues that I had with that particular project manager. And it turns out I was not a one-off. And I'm not selling myself because we're not doing it yet, but I will say we are actually talking about, because we have the warehouse, because we have the team, because we have the space, we are actually talking about helping other authors potentially fulfill their Kickstarters where they would send their books to us. We would store them for a small fee and help them ship them. So, you can find that. Just go into like different author groups, Kickstarter for authors. It's run by a woman named Anthea Sharp. That's a great resource to look at.
Oh yeah, no, she's amazing, and I've gotten a lot of great support from that group as well. And again, she's got a book Kickstarter for authors for those who prefer to read rather than do the online interaction.
She's lovely. She's lovely.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So again, just some more comments. So Beth had mentioned the business of writing is just so different from the craft. How did you make that transition then? Well, you said your husband's a business, right? But what did you say? Sorry.
I made it kicking and screaming. That's how I made that transition.
That's how you did.
No, I mean it. I hated it. I dragged my feet on becoming an LLC. I dragged my feet on incorporating. I dragged my feet on getting a team. I dragged my feet on getting an accountant. I dragged my feet on getting a bookkeeper. I dragged my feet on every part of it. And I actually think, and it breaks my heart, I think the reason why some of us haven't read our favorite book yet is because that poor neurospicy ADHD author got so overwhelmed by the business side of things that they said, forget it. I don't want to do it. It's hard. It's not easy. So I did it kicking and screaming. I'm trying to embrace it now. I've become just naturally more business savvy. You F up, you learn, you know what to do better next time. But you do it one ripped off Band-Aid at a time. I have to incorporate. I'm making too much money. I can no longer do this as a person. I now have to do this as, as an S corporation here in the state. I mean, like one ripped off Band-Aid at a time.
Wow, that is amazing. And I think that's such an important element, particularly because, as a beginning author is looking at all of these moving parts and all of these pieces, you didn't just have that, Monday you were a solo entrepreneur or solopreneur, and then Tuesday you had a giant team in a warehouse. I mean, these were little steps along the way that you took, right?
Yeah, and because I dragged my feet, I was put in a very reactive place, and I'm not a reactive person. I try to be very proactive, but when you really resist the process, and I think also too when you underestimate yourself, which is a form of imposter syndrome, right? Like I kept thinking this is the pinnacle. It's just going to flatten out or maybe even go downhill from here. I was too afraid to make those steps because I thought this was the highest I would ever get. And because I chronically underestimated myself, I kept getting caught off guard by the success that did come. So, if you're going to hire a team, hire contractors, right? You pay them hourly. God forbid it doesn't work out. You give them as much notice as you can, and then they'll go find other contract work, right? It's not like you have to hire a full-time employee right away. So baby steps.
I like that. Okay, so we have some questions about things in your room, the visuals that people are seeing on the screen. And Ronnie said, Rachel, what does your Sherlock shirt say? What does it say?
Sherlock Holmes, 221B Baker Street. And then I think it says, what does it say? Consulting Detective, London.
Very good. Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then I think there were some questions about maps.
Questions about like the maps.
Yeah, I think there was a comment about the color maps, like, wow, with this energy or the seriousness of the color maps in those books. I think
like there's a color map in here. Actually, like everything in this is the original
full cover.
Yeah, everything in here is, sorry, I know I'm a little bleached out.
Gorgeous. That is beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, color maps are great. People really love colored maps. I have full page illustrations in here too. This map right there, that's made out of Legos.
Wait, the map behind you, this is KL. Alan says, tell us about the map. Is it part of your world? And
I think you're talking about that map, right? And I love traveling, right? So it was made with a bunch of like little dots that snapped in, and then there are little like pins that you can put on there to say where you've been and where you're going, which reminds me, I actually have to update that.
You have to add Toronto to that now.
I do. That was my first time in Toronto.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And we kept you in a hotel the whole time. The library in the hotel. Yeah. So fair enough.
It was lovely.
You didn't get a chance to go up the CN Tower or any of those other Toronto things?
Well, I just have to come back, obviously.
You will have to come back.
Yeah.
Okay. But then again, on the map, you could have the pins to where you've been, but then you also potentially have a different color for countries you've delivered to or sold books in.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, that would take a lot of time.
Yeah,
that probably wouldn't be a very good business decision, Mark, because I could probably do more with my time than that. And I really need to learn to protect my time. That has been an ongoing thing. But I do really like the idea.
But you just get a super fan to do that and film it, and then they become viral showing the video of that. See, there you go.
And this is why you're director of business operations. That's a lovely idea. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, anytime. Just here to help out. Okay, so many comments. I'm trying to scroll through them.
I know. You all are wonderful. I see Lexi's, that poor neurospicy ADHD author got overwhelmed saying she feels called out. Yeah, same.
Oh, yeah.
Same,
exactly.
babe. Same. I see you. I see
Yeah.
you.
Okay, so comment here from Beth that says that I'm creating a whole ecosystem where readers can connect with me and be part of the community I'm trying to create. I have a Substack newsletter, Pinterest account, and currently inactive Instagram. Wow. I mean, and that's a lot of moving parts too. So let's
A
talk a
lot.
little bit about the social media. Like, do you do all the socials or do you pick ones that work better for
Um,
you?
I know it sounds antiquated, but I'm actually most active on Facebook.
Okay.
I think I have
All
like
right.
22,000 people over on my page there. There's a really big ecosystem, to steal your word, Beth, of readers over there, especially in my genre, which tends to skew a little bit romantic.
Right.
So that's been great. I have the best thing that I did for my career, social media wise, was actually making a reader group. That was one of those things I put off for a while. But once I got a PA and realized that I had Superfans who would help me run it, and they are amazing. Like,
Oh,
fans make the best workers and volunteers because they love you, you love them. It works out so well. But my reader group, I mean, they're the ones who stormed the gates when the Kickstarter went live. They're the ones who broke Kickstarter in
right.
those first 2 minutes because they just ran. They all had alarms set. That's where I interact with my fans the most, and we're friends. You know,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
friends. We've created a little family over there, and that's been really important.
I love that. I love that community aspect. Layla Rose says, I still swear by a community Discord server. Do you
Absolutely.
use anything like that? Yeah.
I do have a Discord server. Mine is a little bit more quiet right now, but I am about to announce something that I can't say just yet. I'm sorry. But
Ooh,
I
I
do.
thought we could have the exclusive.
It's going to actually come out in a Kickstarter update and on my
Ooh,
newsletter. So if you
all
guys
right.
want to see it, you can sign up for my newsletter at rachelrenner.com/blog. Only one N in
Right.
Renner. Okay. I'm not like Jeremy. He's super
All right.
extra.
So
Thank you.
Rachel
Thank you,
Reiner,
Mark.
right? I get that right.
Yes, you
RachelReiner.com, and you
did.
can go
So
slash
add
blog.
add
Okay.
/blog. You can sign up for my newsletter. That's going to go out later today. But I am going to do something that I think is going to direct more people to my Discord. Layla, if you have any ideas for how to get Discord more active, mine is still a little bit. Thanks, Mark. Mine's still a little bit quiet over there, and I've been trying to come up with ideas for how to like nourish that a little bit. So always open to hearing how that works for other people and other authors.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. That is fantastic. Okay, so you just came from Toronto. You were traveling in the midst of a Kickstarter, and I saw one of your updates
Yeah.
was I think just before you were about to go on stage, you hit a landmark or something like that. And Kickstarters take a lot of time. They take a lot of energy. It's almost like a full-time job
It
on
is.
top of what you're doing.
It
But
is.
you traveled in the middle of that. That must have been like when we were out, the speakers were out for dinner or having lunch together and stuff like that. That must have been so distracting where you're just like, I just want to check. I just want to go and check to see how things are doing.
Um, I mean, the cool thing is that my readers cared as much about the Kickstarter as I do. I mean, I honestly think they were more emotionally invested than I was in some cases. I was very invested. I knew that if something was going horribly wrong or blowing up, like I would hear about it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So it actually was kind of nice to be able to just sit down, get sushi with you and Tao, not look at my phone. But yeah, it was a little bit stressful when we hit 200,000 and I was like on a panel and my phone in my pocket is going buzz, buzz, buzz. And I kind of like, did that. I went off, fudge.
Yeah. Is the
Oh,
house on fire back home? What's going on? Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
they know you're a human being. You're not awake 24/7. People aren't
yeah,
most people aren't expecting immediate updates. So
yeah. Wow.
I did what I could. I did what I could.
All right. So we've talked a lot about the business, but we haven't really dug into when we were on a panel together, you were talking about I think we'd mentioned comp authors, comp titles and stuff like that. And there's a mistake that authors can make when they don't recommend the right comp author or
Yeah.
comp title. And you had a really good thing to say about that. As we were sitting there, I'm thinking, oh, this would be great on the self-publishing
What did I
insiders
say?
podcast.
Tell me.
It was related to an author who, if you've read this author, you're going to find a slightly different style of. Was it Cassandra Clare?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's setting up reader expectation, which is really critical because you don't want the wrong people to read your stuff. So, and this is sort of a lead into give us the elevator pitch. Who should be reading your awesome novels?
Yeah, it's true. The anecdote I was talking about was someone at a convention was telling me how much she just loves Cassandra Clare. And just for whatever reason, people who love Cassandra Clare do not like my Lightning Conjure series. And like she was like really wanting that book. And I was like, no, you're not going to like this book. And she was like, I'll be
Don't buy
the judge
it.
of that. And
Yeah.
then she left a 1-star review. Anyway, that was really
Yeah.
funny.
But you tried. I mean, we were talking about, selling books is great, but don't sell to the wrong person. And you were like, you're
No.
practically trying to,
I
arm
was like,
wrestle with
this is
her.
not the
Don't
book
buy
for
this.
you.
Yeah. Which I mean, most of us are so excited just to have someone interested, but you're like, no, you're not going to like it. Please don't buy this book, which I think it seems counterintuitive, but it was better for this reader to not read that book, right?
Yeah, and I think it's why it's important for us to remember as authors, like just because there's another author out there who says like, hey, let's do newsletter swaps or let's do Kickstarter update swaps. You don't
Yeah.
want to be swapping newsletters if you write steamy goat romance, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be swapping newsletters with somebody who does like high-techy military sci-fi because if their readers for whatever reason pick up your book, it's clashing. Most of those
Yeah.
people are not going to overlap. So you really want to find people in your genre who can help support you and you can support them. And you want to make sure that you've got relevant comps. So if a reader
Right.
comes up to you and says, yes, thank you, Alyssa. I hope so. I look forward to it. You just really want to make sure that you're setting your readers up for success. And that's why
Right.
we could talk about this for hours, but like things like trigger warnings, right? There are some authors out there who are like, I don't want trigger warnings. I don't want to spoil my plot. Trigger warnings are for snowflakes. Well, that's how you get 1-star reviews, Steve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If somebody had something terrible happen to them in their history, and you have that same terrible thing in your book, guess who's going to really hate your book because they weren't properly warned about it? And, Steve has told me, well, those people won't even pick up my book now and I've lost sales. At least I could have gotten my $2.99 minus Amazon fees and payment fees and brought home my 97 cents. It's like, okay, Steve, you get your 97 cents, but you're targeting the wrong people and that's going to bite you in the butt.
Very good point. And Lexi says the more your readers understand what they're in for, easier it can be to find those fans, those super fans who are going to stick around. Obviously. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So this is an important comment or question is, did you mean goat or did you mean GOAT?
I meant goat. I meant like sheep.
Okay, you meant sheep. Okay. That just Tom, that was an important question. We needed to dig and get into the answer. Okay. All right. Okay. We are getting so close to the end. I guess the other thing too is, do you do a lot of in-person, like the Dragon Cons and those in-person conferences where you've got the physical stock? Is that something that you participate in?
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to be more protective of my time. And so, it is getting to the point now where I'm saying no a lot more to appearances. But so long as it is fun and it's a good fit, for my readers and for me, like Cindy, I will be there. So I think this year I went to a Polycon. I went to Wild and Windy. I will be going to Dragon Con, Ball Gowns and Books events in Sydney, romance authors and readers events in London. I'm doing a lot this year. I hope I'll see some of you there.
Oh, awesome. And people can find you again. They can find you probably best places to start over on your website. Is that right? And you can read that out loud for the audio only audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The number of people who have said to me, I met you at Salt Lake City FanX, or I met you at Denver Fan Expo. I mean, the people who you get to talk to face, it leaves an impact on them. And if after that they read your book and say, oh, this isn't garbage, I mean, you've made a fan for life. So I do really, I'm a big proponent of in-person events, provided that they're the right event for you and you really have your elevator pitch down. That's very important.
100%. Yeah. Thank you. And they can find you online at rachelrenner.com, right? And that's
N with one N.
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah, they
awesome.
sure can. Uh-huh.
Awesome. Well, Rachel, thank you so much. One last comment here from Auntie Brooks. Just going to say, Rachel literally told me the trigger warnings I needed when she knew I was dealing with that specific thing. This lady,
I remember you.
I remember you. Yeah. So again, people really do remember you, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. They'll remember how you make them feel. And if you're just shoving your books down their throats, they're going to remember that yucky feeling. And if you
Yeah.
stop and you just listen to them and love them as fellow human beings and try and help them in whatever small way you can. I told you, Mark, if I wasn't doing this, I would have been a therapist. And your response to
Yes,
me was, you are a therapist, Rachel. Your books are
you really
therapy.
are.
And that meant the
Yeah.
world.
Your books, and honestly, your books, they let people know they're being seen, they're being felt, they're being heard. We as writers, that is our responsibility to connect people together. And you did. I met you, I was on panels with you, watched you in action, and was like, oh my God, she's so awesome. We've got to share her with more people. So thank you for
Thank
being
you,
so
Mark.
amazing.
It's been a pleasure and a joy and an honor to be here. I will do anything where you are. So
Oh,
thank
awesome.
you.
Cool. I hope maybe I can see you at FanX in Salt Lake City. If you're going to
Hell
be there
yeah.
this year, that'd be awesome. Cool.
We're there.
Well, thank you. Thank you for hanging out with me. I want to thank the audience. You guys are so amazing. Great comments, lots of fun, very engaging and interactive. I do want to encourage you to like, share, comment, subscribe so you don't miss out these weekly amazing the content. I get to talk to people like Rachel. Jim gets to interview folks, amazing folks as well. You can also bookmark d2dlive.com. So again, you can see what's coming up next week as well. And if you have not begun your self-publishing, your indie author journey, you can get started for free with an account over at draft2digital.com. Rachel, I want to thank you again so much for
Thanks,
hanging out
Mark.
with me.
Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty, and you guys have a fantastic day. I'm going to play the outro video, and then Rachel, maybe we can hang out in the green room for just one minute if I can find the outro video. There it is. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Bye,
day.
everyone.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created D2D Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at draft2digital.com.